Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. Today is session 3 for showing, right? The show day has arrived, so perform and party on. We've got Nina Denman here with us today. She is a technical delegate, a judge. For those of you that have been at the Silverwood show, she's been at Silverwood quite often. So anyway, we're thrilled to have her here today, and she's going to basically finish up our series with perform and party on. So welcome, Nina, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say today.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited that this is our kind of our finale, because this is what the goal is. This is what you've been working for. And the other two sessions have led up to this. So I don't know if you have had a chance to look at the other two sessions. They're full of suggestions on how to make this day easier. And only someone who's like an overachiever would take and follow every suggestion, but even to do a few is going to make this day go a little easier, with more confidence for you. And we have to remember that the goal is to have fun. This isn't going for the Olympic gold medal. This isn't about beating your neighbor. This is about doing the best job that you can do and showing off the horse that you've been working with, the training that you've been doing to the best of your current ability. And the thing that's wonderful about dressage is you never ever stop learning. There's always another little trick. There's another little control of your body. There's another little way to put your weight placed in the saddle. There's always another little exercise. And that's the beauty of dressage. It's endless learning. And even your top Olympic riders will say, I get coached. I have to have a coach, because it's, you've got the feel of what's happening, but it's also important to have eyes on the ground. But that's going beyond what we're going to do today. So what we want to focus on today is how to make your day the best it can be. So we've got our first slide. So here it is. Here we've got eager Miss Molly and her horse, beautifully braided, beautifully groomed, nice and clean, nicely dressed. And a little sideline and apparel. A couple of years ago, bling was really big. Not so big anymore. It's almost like you could pull that coat out that you had 10 years ago and it's perfectly fine. So we're kind of back to the classics, because people have realized that a lot of the bling is just distracting. And you don't need it. Just, the basics are perfect. And then of course it depends on what level of show you're at, whether it's a schooling show where all you need are boots and a helmet, to a recognized show that may require full formal apparel with a coat, jacket. So, that's something we've talked about prior to this. So when you arrive at the showgrounds, and, leave extra time. If you're trailering to that show and you're not used to trailering, you want to give yourself 2 or 3 hours, kind of like at the airport. You want to get there early so that you're not rushed. And you never know what the traffic's going to be like. You never know if you're going to have a hard time loading. Even that wonderful horse that always loads perfectly, today may be the day that he isn't. So you want to give yourself plenty of time. One good thing about riders and judges, we're morning people. I don't know if you've figured that out yet, but we're used to seeing the sun come up. And that's to your advantage, because dressage days can start very early. At Silverwood, we often start before 7 o'clock, as Angelica can testify, because she's our wonderful announcer and she's on that loudspeaker before 7 o'clock, making announcements and greeting everybody. So the earlier, the better. You also want to be able to have time to get your horse off the trailer and walk them around, because If your horse is not used to being at a facility or not used to being out of their home barn, they may turn into a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They may be very tense. They may be very curious. They may balk. They may shy. So you need time to get that horse walked around. You do have to have your numbers on. If you're at a recognized show, your horse has to have on a number whenever it's outside of the stall. A lot of recognized shows, you check in the night before, you pick up your numbers so that you've got it handy. You also want to give yourself time to eat and digest. You don't want to ride with no energy, internal energy, but at the same time, you can't really ride on a full stomach. Those sitting trots are not fun on a full stomach. And then too, you may want to find the photographer and schedule when you're going to be in the ring, so that you can have your picture taken. You've spent all this time and money and effort to make yourself and your horse look great. Enjoy having a picture. Another thing that this is new, and I didn't put it in the slides, if you are at a recognized show, it is now required that the technical delegate check 50% of the tack on the show grounds. And the way that most TDs will do that is they will walk through the barns, and they have full permission to look in your tack rooms. Most of them won't enter your tack room without permission, but they may ask permission and say, may I see your tack? That's just a new rule this year, and we're all trying to feel our way through it and see how we can handle it. At the same time, as that TD, technical delegate, is walking through the show grounds, ask them any questions. Ask them, is this a legal bit? Is this a legal bridle? They're happy to help you out with that kind of information. What do we have for our next slide? Okay, I just thought this was a cute cartoon. And here it is. We have the horse that's pretty relaxed and confident, and the rider who's freaking out. And that often happens. We see that. The rider gets nervous. And so take a deep breath, count to 10, be confident that you're going to do the best job you can today. And that will be communicated to your horse, because they'll pick up on anything. If you're scared of something, they're going to look for what they need to be scared of. So the more confident and relaxed you can be, the more that'll communicate to your horse. So what's our next one? Okay, so here we have, you've got an hour or so before your ride. You need time to saddle up and walk to the warm-up. There will be a map posted. If it's a recognized show, there will be a map posted of where the warm-up areas are, where the lunging area is. You may want to lunge first. That map, curiously enough, is supposed to be both in English and Spanish, because we have so many grooms who are not English speakers. You'll want to check your girth, your saddle cinch. You may want to talk to your trainer. And so you're going to have a schedule. The secretary will communicate to you when your ride is. And at the beginning of the day, you may pretty much well ride at that time. However, sometimes by late lunch, the judge may be running behind, and that's normally for reasons beyond their control. Perhaps the gate person wasn't getting those riders in the gate on time, or perhaps a horse went off course and went off course again. And so all that re-riding, that movement takes up time. Or maybe, heaven forbid, there was a runaway horse, a loose horse, and everything had to stop. And we had to, freeze the rings until that horse was caught. So there can be a number of reasons why they may start running late in the late afternoon, morning, but don't count on it. Don't count on it. Be there, in plenty of time for your ride if it is at your time. You may, and it happens, you may be able to ride early, especially in the late afternoon. Over lunch, whatever time discrepancy that happened in the morning, over lunch, it'll get fixed. So the judge may start their lunch 20 minutes late, but they'll start their afternoon on time. So they'll fix that time warp. But then, especially the last day of a show, the afternoon starts running what we say early, because maybe people got the scores they needed, maybe they had something they had to leave early for. So there are what we call scratches, where people scratch their ride, they don't come. And so the judge may have an empty ring. And so you may have the possibility of riding 20 minutes, 30 minutes early. You don't have to. You can wait for your time. But if the judge sees you just sitting in the warm-up ring, twiddling your thumbs, and she or he has an empty ring, they're going to wonder why you're not coming. And sometimes it's because your trainer isn't available. Maybe there's a multi-ring show and your trainer's schooling somebody in another ring. Or maybe you're waiting for your spectators. Maybe your grandma's going to come and see you ride for that first time, so you're going to wait for your time. But just realize that it is possible that the show may run early. Doesn't happen consistently, but it is possible. When you arrive at the warm-up, find the gate person, and it's good to say to them, "Hi, I'm number 52," for instance. Yes, you have your number 52 on, but it's just a courtesy to say to the gate person, "Hi, I'm number 52." And then when you're at the gate person saying hello, you might ask, "Are we running on time? Are we running late? Are we running early?" That case, the gate person will be able to tell you. You might ask the gate person, "Who's 2 horses ahead of me? Who's right ahead of me?" And they can tell you that. So you have a little more lead time, okay, number 51 just went in, I'm 52. And you can also ask the gate person, what's the normal pre-ride protocol? For example, if the dressage arena is set within an arena of sand, you may be able to ride all the way around that arena. And you want to go both ways in front of the judge, because your horses left side and right side see different things. And then, come in. But some shows don't have that. They have grass on the sides, and they don't want you riding on the grass. So a show like that one, you can ask the gate person, "Can I go in and warm up before my ride?" And they'll say yes. And as soon as that person in front of you salutes their final salute, you can enter that ring. And that's what we normally do. So you can enter that ring, you can start your little, pre-ride circling stuff while that other horse is still in the ring. It happens. That's okay. And then once the judge rings the bell, you have 2 choices. You can exit the ring, do a little warm-up circle, and come back in the ring, or you can stay in the ring and just make a nice half volte at the end and come down center line. So the gate person will help you with all that, and they're happy to do it. So while you're in the warm-up and you're doing your normal warm-up, don't try to do anything fancy, do your normal warm-up. You can mentally ride your test. You can physically ride it. A lot of warm-ups have letters around them. You can practice your test or practice certain movements. But often I see riders just pull up and they're going like this with their hands, and their eyes are like nowhere. And they're mentally riding that test well. They're performing it very well. So they're mentally preparing themselves to do the best that they can do. So in the warm up, it's not the time to train. Let's say that your horse isn't really confirmed in simple changes. Don't go schooling at 10 simple changes. Don't do that. You might just build his frustration level up more than it's worth. It's not the time to train. It's the time to warm up, to stretch, to relax your horse, get them ready to perform. I've been able to be the steward at several Rolexes when they used to be called Rolex 3 days. Now they're Land Rovers. And those Olympic riders, they don't school, fast and furiously before they go in for their dressage ride. They're relaxing their horse. They're just saying, hey, normal day, everything's going to be just fine. Let's go have fun, and that's kind of what you want to do. But you also want to time your warm up so that your horse has energy for that performance ride. So do you want to warm up at the canter for an hour before? Probably not. You want that horse to have a little pep and zip when he comes down center line, and it's just going to give you a better performance. What's our next slide? Okay. I had to put this in. I just thought it was so cute. Is your horse always going to be perfect? Probably not. There are things that happen in the warm up. I had a horse that, I schooled at home. I have my own horses at home. My horses are used to riding with, maybe one of my children or students in the ring at a time. And then I would take them to a show and there's like 6 horses running around. And my horses like eyes are this big and they're going, what is this place that you have taken me to? And I've even been schooling in the warm up and had people literally run into me. I'm just minding my own business. And I had a young rider just literally T-bone my horse and I. So things can happen in the warm up that are totally beyond your control. So if it does, just stop, take a deep breath, count to 10, and carry on. There's just going to be sometimes those unexpected incidences that you have no control over. Okay, what's our next slide? Okay, yeah, think positively. Be happy. You've prepared. You've groomed yourself. You've cleaned your tack. You've braided your horse. You're looking great, and just enjoy the moment. It's your time to show off. So, think positive, think how you want it to look, and chances are that's how it's going to happen. And keep your focus on what you're doing. I like to say when I work with people, you ride every stride. A dressage rider has to be that relaxed, that confident, that rhythmic, that you're riding every stride. It's so different than hunters. I was a hunter. I did that world. That's a whole different thing. And I'm not saying this doesn't mean you have to be ferociously in control every stride. No, you don't want to restrict your horse. You want your horse to move naturally, but you want to feel every stride. You want to know where those hind legs are so you know when to sink your inner hip bone, for instance. So, try to relax. Hopefully you might have a ground person. And if you've lost your rhythm, maybe ask your ground person, do I look too fast? Do I look hurried? And, get another person to pipe in there. Because if you're hurried, you're going to look tense. and your horse is not going to perform its best gaits because it doesn't have time to stride. So you want to you want that rhythm that you've schooled at home, that you know this is showing my horse off to his or her ability, potential. We're covering ground. His back is relaxed. We're swinging. The hind end is swinging. He's reaching for the bit. You just want to focus on what you're doing. Okay, what's our next little slide? Ring manners. Here's what I talked about, being T-boned. So anyway, you will have to watch out for other riders. You'll have to use your peripheral vision, and you're going to need to know if someone is coming up behind you, if someone is circling, if someone's riding a diagonal. Normally, everybody kind of rides like a carousel in one direction, but then that's not guaranteed. There are people that are going to have to go across the diagonal and warm up the other way. So if that happens, you have to know which way you're going to pass them. And there's two kind of schools of thought. If you're in England, you pass like an English car. So you pass with right hands. That's where that happened. In the US, people are used to driving on the other side of the road, and we normally pass left side. But you kind of have to just look at the ring and figure out what's happening. Which way are they going? How are they passing? If you're walking, it's normal for you to walk on the inside track so that people who are cantering have the rail. And it's okay to talk to the other riders. It's okay to say, hey, I'm taking the diagonal, or, so to warn them, because they may be so focused on what they're doing, they may not be looking at you and thinking where you're going. If someone is crossing your path, you may want to call out to them, let them know that, you're there, because they get into themselves so much. They may not be aware of what's happening. We talked about passing on the right or left and talking about the flow. Another thing is how you carry your whip. You please be sure that you've got that whip anchored against your side. You don't want that whip sticking out laterally so that if a horse is passing you, they're going to get hit in the face by your whip. So you really have to be cognizant of your whip etiquette, even if that means spreading out your hands a little bit so that you can get that whip to lay down on against your side. And if your horse kicks, please put a red ribbon in your horse's tail, so that that's a warning to other riders not to run up on your back. What's our next one? Okay, so here we've done our last few minutes, our last 90 seconds. So you're gonna wanna leave time for hopefully your ground person, if you have one, to wipe off your boots and give you that last drink of water if it's a hot day. Remove the bandages on your horse's feet, maybe the bandage on its tail. Sometimes we have that. If you've used a running martingale, you've got to get that off the horse. And then, ask your gate person if they're riding, if they're a bell or a whistle. And that's going to depend, it depends on each ring, whether it's a bell or a whistle or a duck call or a cowbell. You have to know what your ring's going to have. Sometimes there are signs at the shows, but not always. So when you then enter into the ring, whether you're in the ring or on the outside of the ring, you have enough time to go around that ring. Maybe not both ways entirely, but let's say you're going around the ring and you pass in front of the judge's stand and you go a little bit up the long side, then turn around and come back past the judge's stand the other way, so your horse sees it from both angles. If your horse is extremely tense, stop. Stop in front of the judge's stand. Let them look. Maybe they've never seen a judge's stand. That can happen. And the judge or the secretary, the scribe will usually talk to your horse and say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" They'll try to get you calmed down. You can tell the judge your number, your name. That way they can check to make sure that they have the right person. And the test. You would be amazed at how many people come in thinking they're going to ride training 2 and the class is training 4. So you want to get that taken care of before you come in the ring. And if you are prepared for the wrong test, you have options. You can't postpone your ride, but you can ask for a scribe. And usually, there are people around that'll jump to your assistance. If you can't find a scribe and you just have to start on your own, you might do that. And you may go off course. And the judge will ring the bell and correct you. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So anyway, you're going to actually, as you go down the side, do a couple transitions, do some half halts, do some rein backs, get that horse connected, get that energy level going up, and then have a good time. Relax and smile. It's amazing how when you come in the ring with a smile on your face, that's setting the stage. Yes, the judge is going to do their best job, unbiased and with no prejudice as they can. But if you come in looking panic-stricken, they're already going to say, "Okay, what's going to go wrong?" Where if you come in smiling and happy, they're going to go, "Oh, she's ready to have a good time." And hopefully it's not going to influence their scores, but it might. It might. I can't promise. They're human. So what's the next slide? Okay, so ride proud, show off. And there again, because you're riding a test that you're comfortable with, you're riding movements that you've schooled, it's time to see how successful your training has been. And smile, enjoy the opportunity. The judge is not there to be negative or to criticize you or to pick on you. They're rooting for you 100%. They want you to have a good time because they want you to come back. They want you to continue on this path. So, make sure you understand the judge is on your side. Now, could the judge be eaten alive by flies? Yes. Could the judge be fighting so much wind that the sand is in their eyes and they have this unhappy look on their face? Yes, that can happen. They're human too. But you can still smile and let them know that things are okay. Even if you know your test, even if you've memorized your test, go ahead and use a caller. Just for reassurance. Yes, it's important to memorize your test because then you know where the half halts come in. You know how many strides you need to start the transition so it ends at the letter. But a caller still is nice support. And I think that last one is, can you see that last one? I don't know. I don't know what that.
It says, if the whistle blows during your test, take a deep breath right up to the judge and ask why. Repeat only what the judge directs.
Yeah, usually it's because you're off course. Now, here's the thing with judging. Let's say that you're supposed to ride a 20-meter circle and you ride a 10. Well, the judge may not blow the whistle because you're still going in the right direction. However, they may count off a -2 because you rode the wrong circle. However, if they don't blow the whistle, they cannot penalize you if you do it again. I hope that makes sense. So if it's a 20-meter circle and you ride a 10-meter circle and they don't blow the whistle, but they count off a -2, and then you change hands, and again, you're supposed to ride a 20-meter circle and you ride a 10, they can't count that as a second error. They can only count it as an error the second time if they blew their whistle the first time and told you to what you did wrong. So just so you know, that's just part of the procedure that judges have to follow. But when you go off course, they'll blow the whistle, come up to them, ride right up to them, and they'll say, oh, this was supposed to be a diagonal. So they'll maybe say to you, okay, so I want you to do a small circle to get you going in the right direction. And then I want you to go across the diagonal. However, if they say, if they don't say ride a small circle and you do ride a small circle, they might count that as an error because you weren't supposed to do that. So, listen carefully to them. And if it's still not clear, have them repeat it. They're happy to get you going the right way in the right direction and continue your positive experience. If you go off course 3 times, you would be eliminated. However, the judge may not blow the whistle and say, you're done. They may just let you finish the test for the experience, but then later you're going to say, oh gosh, I'm eliminated. And the reason will be why. Another reason the judge may blow the whistle is if your horse has such a tizzy that the resistance is more than 20 seconds and the judge is worried for your safety. They may blow the whistle and say, I'm sorry, but I think you're better to get off that horse today. Another reason they might blow the whistle if the horse is lame, and they may say, I'm very sorry, but your horse appears lame and we need to end this test. So there are several reasons why they might blow the whistle. Maybe there's a loose horse. You don't know it because you're so focused, but the judge knows there's a loose horse 2 rings over. They're going to blow that whistle and say, stop. We want you to just stop because we've got an emergency situation there. So there are different reasons why they may blow it. What's next? Okay. So your ride is over. You've done your final salute and you've got that halt. And the reason I put halt and hold there, the halt is supposed to be 3 seconds long or maybe a little longer. And that's not 1, 2, 3. That's 1001, 1002, 1003. And if your halt is shorter than that, you could lose points. So halt, hold, breathe, and then the judge will nod or salute or wave, and that means you're free to go. So then you'll want to loosen your rein so your horse can stretch down and walk out of the ring. Okay. Don't be surprised if the next horse walks in, especially if they're running behind. That might happen. But your friends, hopefully you've got friends there and they'll applaud, enjoy it. You've performed. Once you exit the ring, you may be asked to stop for a bit check. And at that point, either the technical delegate or the designee of the technical delegate will walk around you and look for blood. If there's any blood or whip marks or spur marks, or along the bit, sides of the mouth, there might be blood. So that's the big thing. They're also going to look to see if your bit is correct. If it's the TD, they might insert a finger into the bit. If you have into the mouth, if you have on ear hoods, fly hoods, they may ask you to take those off. So some riders just reach up and pull them off. Some riders have the groom do it. The bit checker will not do it. It's not their job. And then that hood is given to the checker, and they will look to see if there are air blocks in there. At one time, the ear bonnet had to be a very thin material. Now a thicker material is allowed. But what they're going to look for is if that horse shakes their heads, because if they have ear plugs in their ears, they'll usually shake their heads and those will come flying out. So they'll look for that. They may put their fingers under the cavesson. The cavesson has to be loose enough that the fingers of the checker can slip in there. If you have spurs, they're going to make sure that the rowel is free. They may like run their fingers over your rowel. They may take the back of their hand, and it's going to have a glove on, and run the back of their hand along the horse's side, because blood would show up. Like if it's a bay horse or a dark horse, blood may not be evident. Gray horse, white horse, yeah, you're going to see it right away. But if they may take a Kleenex and run a Kleenex along the side of your horse to see if there's blood from the spur. So that's your bid check. It's normal. The rule requires that at least a third of the class is checked. So if you're the only rider in the class, you're going to get checked. That's going to happen. And just kind of enjoy it, that if you have questions, that's a good time to ask them. If you're wearing a saddle pad, riding with a saddle pad, and you have a Westphalian insignia on the side of that saddle pad, and you're clearly on a quarter horse Western paint, that's not fair. You're not to ride with a logo that does not match your horse's breed. Not that the judge has time to read them. I've never had a judge who's had time to look at logos, but that's the rule. Another thing is sponsors pads. Let's say that your pad has this beautiful pad and it has Dover saddlery really big on the side. You can only use that saddle pad from Dover's if you have a letter claiming that you are a rider sponsored by Dover. A lot of saddle companies would give people these beautiful free pads with the big insignia, but you can't show in those at a recognized show unless you are a legitimate rider sponsored by that business. If you won a saddle pad at your club end of the year awards and it says champion, you can ride in that saddle pad if you still belong to that club. You have to be a member of that club. Same thing with a barn. Let's say your barn all has these beautiful saddle pads with the insignia of the barn. You can only ride in that saddle pad if you are boarding at that barn. So there's a bunch of little rules like that. The easiest thing to do is just don't have an insignia on your saddle pad. Don't have a logo. Just have a nice saddle pad, a little bit of braiding, maybe a little bit of glitz, and use that for your show pad. A little bit more about show pads. They can't be shiny. They can't be a material that reflects the sun. They can't be striped with big broad stripes. They can't be plaid. So, go for conservative. Yeah, maybe it's not as much fun, but it's the safer route. Just get a nice solid colored pad, with maybe a little bit of trim, and enjoy the heck out of it. What else do we have? Yes. Okay, you're done. You're off your horse. Your horse is being cooled down, maybe being hosed off. You've taken a drink of water. You've stripped out of your jacket. You've loosened your necktie, you've taken out your hat, off your hat. You want those scores, but be patient. Sometimes it takes over 30 minutes to get your score posted. Ideally, the show will have it posted within 20 minutes, but things happen, especially if it's a 5-ring show and there's one scorer. It may take longer. And then you can go into the show office. Some shows post only online, so you may have to, figure out how to check your scores. Some will also post with paper. But you can ask the secretary, and the secretary might be very busy. So just, wait till he or she looks at you and ask, how can I check my scores? Often scores are up before the end of a class. Let's say that it's 25 horses in the class and you were the second horse. Chances are your score will be up, but the class cannot be placed until all of the horses have shown. And not often, but sometimes that class may be split. It may be that one rider had 4 horses and conflicts, and so that class may not get finished till later in the day. So it's important that not only do you know your ride times, but you take a look at the overall show schedule for the day, because that class may not finish for a couple of hours, just so you know. When you get your test, please take time to read your comments. The judge has thoughtfully put reasoning down so that you understand why you got a 6 instead of a 7, for instance, or maybe you got a 7 and not an 8. What little thing could you have done more that would have gotten that higher score? And also check the math. Everybody is fallible, and sometimes the math doesn't work. And if they're using a program, often you won't have a problem, but there are still shows that hand score, and so you'll want to check the math. If you see any really weird inconsistencies, let's say that the comment says, good halt, 5. That doesn't make sense. Good halt, 5. So you can go into the show office and ask the secretary if you can speak to the TD. You can find the TD, or they'll call the technical delegate in, and you can show the test to the technical delegate and say, I don't understand. Good halt, that's supposed to be an 8, and this is a 5. And so the technical delegate then can approach the judge. You can't. The judge is working, but the technical delegate knows how to fit in between a couple rides and squeeze in there and show the test to the judge and say, can you explain this? And sometimes what happens is that 5, it's supposed to be an 8, but it looked like a 5. That happens. Things like that happen. That scribe is in a hurry, and sometimes it's just got scribbled wrong, and it's like an easy fix. The judge fixes it. We take it back to the show office and we fix everything. So don't be afraid to ask questions. You can go up to the TD anytime. You do not have to go through the secretary. The TDs will roam the stables. They may be on a golf cart, my favorite thing to do, but they'll go up and down the stables, the stalls. They want to talk to you. They want to see how your day is going. Do you have any complaints or anything you want to think is wonderful? You can find that TD. The announcer can call for that TD. They can meet you. The TD usually has a walkie-talkie, and we can get those problems fixed. So, yes, what's our last slide? Okay, ribbons and prizes. Every show handles ribbons and prizes a little differently. Some you have to go to the awards chairperson, show them the test. It'll have written on it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a circle. And the awards chairperson will give you the appropriate awards. Other shows, there's just a room full of ribbons, and you get to go in there, and on the honesty policy, you get to get your own ribbon off the wall. So every show's different. You can ask the secretary or the secretary's assistants or the TD, how does this show handle it? And they will explain that to you. There will be a box, usually by the ribbons, that will have all the tests in it. Some shows have a sign-off sheet where if you picked up the test and you're not the rider, you have to sign your name so that the rider then walks in and says, where's my test? There's an evidence of who picked up that test. So that's a normal procedure for many shows. And then after you get your ribbon, take it back and post it on your stall, hang it on your stall and be proud of it. You've earned it. And yes, maybe it's a red, or maybe it's a yellow, or maybe it's a green, but you know what? Maybe there was only 2 percentage points between you and the first place. Not fun, but it happens. So be proud of whatever one you get. What's our next? And celebrate, have fun. If it's the end of the day, party on, have fun, talk to your friends, relax, get your boots off, sit in the shade, have some munchies and enjoy and think about how your day went. Maybe you got a 44% on your test, but maybe it was the first time your horse took his leads without a mistake. So, try to find, even in that test that you're disappointed with the score, find out what you can celebrate, what you did right, what you're happy about, because it's fun. You do this for fun. Please remember that. Do we have another test slide? I can't remember. So this is also a time to think about what's next. Are you going to do another recognized show? If it's a schooling show, are you going to move up to the recognized world? Maybe you're going to go to a schooling show because you're going to try the next level up and you want to see how that goes for you. So, talk to your friends and your trainer and see what the future is going to bring for you. I think that's it. Yes. Questions and comments. I know we only have a limited audience, but maybe Angelica, do you have any questions, or Molly?
I'm trying to think, like in terms of, I was thinking about some of the things you were talking about with the timing. I have one comment about the, like the early, when the show is running early, because I know a lot of people freak out about that and everything else. And you made a point of saying that you don't have to go early. But the one thing that you also have to remember is that if they're running 2 or 3 hours early, I don't know that people are going to be hanging around and keeping the show going. So try to listen to the announcements. Try to listen to, if the ring is running early. Again, we try to coordinate that and get everybody on the same page and stuff like that. So just be ready. Be ready for any situation.
Yeah, maybe there's an imminent thunderstorm coming, and they're trying to get that everybody safely ridden, before that. They've been keeping an eye on the weather, and they know at 5 o'clock it's going to break loose. They may be trying to push the show. So talk to the ring person, talk to the announcer, and see, find out what's going on.
You know what? Actually, now that you brought up thunderstorm, can you talk a little bit about what happens when there is bad weather?
Okay, so if there's lightning, we have to pull everybody off their horses and put them in shelter. If there's a tornado, not only do we have to get the horses put away, we've got to get the people into the safest places we can put them in. Thank goodness that in the 40, I won't say how many years, I've been doing that has not happened yet to me, knock on wood. Lightning, yes. So if there's lightning, they will stop the show. They will put all the horses away and they will wait for the lightning to pass, and everybody will have weather bug and stuff going on their phones. And after the lightning is passed, they can restart the show, but they have to give you 30 minutes. 30 minutes to get back on going. Sometimes they can't go on the same day. And that's the way it is. So they may just have to call that whole class, a wash, because maybe they only had 2 horses and they can't finish the class. It's dark, there's no lights, or the rain is going on for the next 3 hours. And so unfortunately, they may just not be able to place that class because it's not fair. It's not fair to place it if everybody has not had a chance to ride.
Oh, sorry. I have a question here. It says, you said the TD will check 50% of tack by walking the grounds barns, but also USEF rule is to check tack on 1 out of 3 riders per class. Are both correct? Will people have tack checked twice?
Yes. Yes. And you're right on both accounts. We still have to check 1/3 of the class, but that can be by a designated bit checker. Does not have to be by the TD. But the TD has to check 50% of the entries. So yes, they may check some at ringside, but they may also try to get a lot of it done like the first morning of the show and by walking the stalls. And so they'll just go right up to the stable and say, see whoever's there and say, hi, I'm the TD. Can I please check your tack? And we're informing competitors that you got to give them permission. You can't refuse. You just can't. So they will, go into your tack room, usually escorted. They don't want to go there and by themselves. And they will check the bridles that have numbers on them. So let's say, okay, here's the number 33. Okay, that's legal. Check. I checked that one. If they see an illegal bit or bridle in the tack room, they may say to you, is this going to be used? By what horse? You can have an illegal bit or bridle in your tack stall as long as it's not on a horse, as long as it doesn't have a number on it. So could the TD check the tack hanging in the tack room? Yes. So she's already checked 33. But then could the designated bit checker check 33 again because 33 was the only horse in the class? Yes. So,
and that's the new rule this year about the checking the 50%, correct?
The new rule is the 50%.
Right. Okay.
Right. But the old rule of 1/3 of the class still holds.
Right. Okay. Another question is, do tack rules apply to non-compete horses on the grounds?
Yes. Yes. Any horse on the grounds, whether they're showing or not, has to follow the rules. Has to have a number. Non-compete horses that are there. Now, boarders horses are different. That's different. You may have a boarder, a horse that doesn't have a number on it. That's a boarder, and they may be using an illegal bit. But hopefully at that show, they have the warm-up area for the competitors and then where the boarders ride. So boarders really don't belong in the warm-up show for the show. For one thing, their danger. It could be a danger.
Mhm.
You know, maybe they've already got 5 people warming up. They don't need 3 boarders in there. You know, so the TD may ask the show facility to, if it's at a barn, please, you know, let your boarders use that outdoor ring or the indoor ring, but not the warm-up areas.
Nina, what about in the warm-up arenas? What's allowed? I mean, are people allowed to go in and help or walk in? I mean, what's the rule on that?
You cannot have somebody unmounted in the warm-up ring.
Okay.
They have to be on the edge, and that's a safety thing. You know, we don't want anybody run over. They can talk, they can use walkie-talkies. They can't use the walkie-talkie once the, you know, arena, they enter the arena. It's really, you know, that rider really should pull the earplugs out of their ears, you know, put them in their pocket. That really should happen. But yeah, they cannot enter, you know, this is not an event. This is not a horse trials. This is not a hunter ring where people are fixing fences. And so they may be on foot.
Here's
There's
another
no,
question. Okay, so here's another question. Is it legal for boarders to use a show warm-up ring if nothing else is available?
oh boy, I think if as a TD, I would really have to talk to my show management about that, you know, and say, you know, your boarders knew this show was going on. You know, that's something the show management's going to have to handle. But as a TD, I think I would put it in my report because it's a safety issue, and it, you know, it's awfully confusing for the show personnel. Why is this horse in here with an illegal bit and no number and running into people? You know, yeah, that's a show management issue that would have to be resolved.
I've got one. What about warming up in areas that are not designated as warm-up arenas?
Not allowed. That could get you, it's not going to get you eliminated, but it could definitely get you a yellow card.
And
And a
what does that
yellow,
mean?
yeah, a yellow card is a warning. And if you get more than one yellow card on the same issue, there's going to probably be some action taken because you've been warned already and you're still doing it. So yeah, no, you have to warm up in the designated warm up areas. Yes, you can ride from the stall to the warm up arena, but you can't just go warm up in a field somewhere. That's
Well,
unsupervised.
I'm thinking of if you have a facility that has an indoor arena, right? So are you allowed to go in that indoor arena at that, and it's not a designated warm-up arena?
You are not allowed to
I
do that.
know that. I'm just throwing it out there because a lot of people do that. So I'm making sure that's a point.
No, because your gate person, your ring steward, you know, they can't see what you're doing. You could be abusive in there. They're not going to know. Yeah, no, you've got to be in the designated warm up and the designated lunging areas.
What about if you have a horse that's frisky or whatever? Are you allowed to be led in the arena?
Um, once the bell rings, no, no. Could you, if the bell has not yet rung and you're going to enter in that ring and do your warm up circles in the ring? Yeah, you could be let in at that point, but not once the bell rings. That doesn't happen very often. Yeah, that's a 1 in a million kind of a situation.
All right. So it's 8 o'clock right now. Do we have time for one final question?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody have any final question to kind of end the evening? Oh, I got one here. All right. Let's see. Can trainer walk alongside horse led horse? Oh, yeah, alongside horse to led horse.
Okay, you could lead the horse to the warm-up arena, but not in the warm-up arena.
it says to lead, so it's like you can't lead it.
Yeah, you cannot lead, you cannot be on foot in the warm-up arena. You might lead the horse from the stall to the warm-up arena. So,
Around the show ring, often done for new riders.
yeah, around the show ring, yes, but not in the show ring. Yeah, so the warm-up arena, you have to be mounted. And you could lead them around the outside of the ring. Yeah, that can happen, but not, you could help them get in the ring if the bell hasn't rung. But once the bell has rung, you can't.
All right. And anything else? Any final thoughts, Nina?
No, it's just been wonderful working with you all, and I look forward to seeing you at some shows in Illinois and Wisconsin in the coming season. So have a great show season.
One more, wait, hold on, one more comment here. Let's see, it says, thanks so much for all the sessions. Yes, we thank you so much for helping us with this information. Molly, any final thoughts?
I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for this wonderful sessions that you put together, Nina. And also, could you send me a couple of, I need 2 pictures of you or something other than the one that with the umbrella, because I want a distinct.
Okay. All right.
I tell you what I want them for. I want them for thumbnails on the videos.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I've got them. I just gotta find them. You know, every time I get a new computer, it's like, okay,
I
where is
know.
that stuff?
Terrible.
I will
know.
get some.
There's one
Thank
final
you.
that says,
Oh.
where will you be this year, Nina?
Well, nothing terribly exciting. I've got my first show coming up this weekend in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm going to be at Western Dressage Show in Eau Claire. I'll be at Silverwood 5 times this summer. I'll be at North Woods Dressage Association up near Duluth. Wonderful show, wonderful people up there. I'll be at Catalpa. I'll be at Sundance. It's kind of a light year, and that kind of happens. Over the years, you get a heavy year, then you get a light year, then you get a heavy year, and that's what's kind of normal. This is a little light one. I always say 4th of July, Mother's Day, my husband's birthday. I don't take shows those weekends, so I cut myself out of business. But 3-day show, Mother's Day, 3-day show, no, Mother's Day, yes. So.
All right. Well, thank you again for everything. And again, this will be posted on the IDCTA website. So you'll be able to find it in the library where all the recordings are. So thank you everyone for participating.
Take care, everybody. Have a good
Bye-bye.
season.
Bye.
Bye.